So you've been driving all this way to a very important meeting, you're feeling really excited, totally ready to give your undivided attention, and the person never showed up. What is your reaction? Do you remain as excited as you were when you were driving towards the meeting, or do you get triggered? And what kind of trigger? How do you feel? Are you angry, disappointed, pissed off, worried? Well, in this video, I'm going to be sharing with you how to stop suffering in any given situation so that you can approach it with less stress and handle it more efficiently. My name is Olivia Pinto. I help freedom seekers create abundance and harmony while living the life you truly desire. So if you really want to stop suffering in any given situation so that you can approach it with less stress and handle it more efficiently, the very first step is to understand that every situation has always two components, always. The first are the facts. The facts refer to anything that we can video record, audio record, quantify, measure, document, that we can prove. And obviously the facts are neutral and objective. On the other hand, the second component is quite the opposite. And this is what I like to call our personal story, because it reflects our belief systems, the emotions that are triggered, the content of the thoughts that are going on right now, our attitude, our perception, the way we give interpretation to the facts, and so on. And obviously, this is very personal and different from person to person, which is why I like to call it our personal story. Our personal story, unlike the fact, is not objective and is not neutral. On the contrary, it's subjective, and if we suffer, it means that not only it's subjective, but it's also charged. Just imagine a situation where you have a murder trial and you have 5 different witnesses. Eyewitnesses, they all saw what happened there, but they have different versions. Well, I'm not referring to people who consciously lie because they have a certain agenda. I'm referring to people who genuinely believe that this is really what happened there. And they remember that they can swear really this is what happened there. And we have different versions. How can that be? Well, the reason is that they saw and they remember what they saw through the filters of their perceptions and their belief systems and so on, through the filters of their personal stories and not through the facts. Now that we understand that every situation has always those two components, the facts and the personal story, that's when we can start approaching any situation in a healthy, practical, and efficient way. Now, before I share with you how we approach any situation in a healthy, practical, and efficient way, I would like to emphasize why it is so important to do so. And there are many, many reasons and benefits, but I would like to share with you 4 that I find really, really important. Reason number 1 is that it changes our experience. Once we are approaching a situation in a healthy and practical and efficient way, we are in an action, we are in a mode that makes us feel much better. No matter what the circumstances around, it makes us feel much better than if we were inefficient and we were not practical and we were not healthy and we would just accumulate and accumulate and accumulate the personal story. Reason number 2 is that it really strengthens our mindset. And the thing with mindset is that people with a positive mindset tend to focus on solutions, whereas people with a negative mindset tend to focus on problems. So once we approach a situation in a practical way and we want to have an efficient way to handle it and get results, it puts the mind immediately into more positive thinking and strengthens the mindset towards solutions. And when we have a positive mindset, not only we feel empowered and we feel more useful and we feel better with ourselves, but it also has an impact on the whole functioning, health and well-being of the body-mind, the whole body-mind. So it's a very, very healthy thing, strengthening the mindset and enhancing our health. Reason number 3 is that it really improves our performance. We can perform much better when we're really focusing on solutions, when we really want to be efficient, when we want to be practical, when we want to get this situation resolved. We really perform better, and we can think more clearly. We really can think more clearly, because when we're very caught up with all our personal story, with all those emotions that are triggered and all those thoughts and worries and anger and judgments and so on, what happens is that when the emotions are very strongly triggered, there is a compensation that happens. And as soon as our personal story is very charged, our intellect goes down. And we cannot think very clearly, we cannot focus very clearly, we cannot see beyond the real problem, we cannot open our mind and be open to new possibilities, we cannot think outside the box, we cannot really decide properly and concentrate and so on. So all our mental activities and mental capacities function much better and allows us to perform better when our personal story is not dictating the whole experience. And reason number 4 is that it impacts our environment. Okay, so think of a situation where there's a group of people and all of a sudden one of them falls down and collapses. And here we have an emergency situation. Well, what would happen if everybody around this person would go into panic and worry and anxiety attack and, oh my God, is he dead? And what do I have to do? And oh, all this, while no one actually takes care of the situation. Well, obviously everybody's caught up with their personal story, but no one really handles the fact. And no one does anything in a practical way. One person, all of a sudden, is more relaxed, more self-confident, and is going for the solution. So he does whatever needs to be done in that particular situation, and not only it handles the situation and may even save the life of the person that collapsed, but it also impacts all the people around, because when we see someone that comes with a healthier, more relaxed approach, that takes the practical steps, that does whatever needs to be done, it really reassures and it makes people feel a little bit less stressed. So not only it resolves the situation, but it also has an impact on our environment. So how do we approach any situation with less stress and handle it more efficiently? Well, I'm a great believer and a follower of simplicity. I really like when things are easy to follow and simple to apply. And so I'm going to give you 3 steps that are extremely useful. The first step is that you have to separate the facts from the personal story in real time. And I emphasize real time because it's very easy to separate the facts from the personal story when we reflect on something that happened in the past or when we imagine something that may happen in the future. For example, in the last example, the person collapsed and we have an emergency situation. These are the facts. The people's reactions and panic and anxiety and so on, these are the personal stories. One person at a certain point approached the person who collapsed and took care of it. This is a fact. So it's very easy when we reflect backwards or when we imagine potential scenarios. But what happens when we are right here, right now, in a situation in the present moment? Well, that's when we really need to remember to separate them. And to help you with that, I would like to show you something. 2 little boxes. Just ask yourself, in this particular situation, what part belongs to the facts? What part of my experience belongs to my personal story? If you stop and ask yourself that, you'll see that it's as simple to answer as when you reflect on the past or future situation. So just separate them in 2 imaginary boxes and put all the facts in one box. This is step number 1. Step number 2 is to consciously choose to put the personal story aside for the time being and say, okay, right now I'm going to focus only on the facts. And this is step number 2. And step number 3 is to take practical steps in order to resolve whatever situation we are handling. So we separate them, we consciously put aside the story, and we focus on the fact and find a practical solution. And once we handle the situation in a practical way, that's when we can go back to our story and address it. And you'll be surprised that so many times when going back to the story, there is no personal story. It's as if it really evaporated because all the fear, the worry, the anxiety, the thoughts around it, the judgment and all that, once the situation was taken care of, all this is no longer relevant. So it subsides, and really, if we could measure the personal story, it really goes down and down and down and down, and at times completely disappears. Now you may ask yourself, okay, but what if I'm still triggered? What if I'm looking back at my personal story and it's really vibrating and it's there and I'm triggered and so on? Well, that's a great question, because in my next video, this is exactly what I'm going to address. I'm going to address what do we do when we already handle the facts and we remain with a personal story that is still there and still bothers us and we're still charged. And I'm going to give you a formula that is very simple to apply, that I put together and that many people used it, including myself, of course, and found it extremely helpful and very practical and easy to use. And when you apply this very simple formula, it's so easy to really get rid of our personal story. Now, since we're talking today about how to stop suffering, I created a free resource for you that includes a worksheet that will help you identify the patterns of your reaction so that you can separate your personal story from the facts and act in a practical way much faster. You can pick it up for free over on my blog at oliviapinto.com/1download. I will leave a link above or below this video, or if you're already on my blog, just click on the big green button below this video to get access to your free resource and the worksheet so you can approach every situation with less stress and handle it more efficiently. Question of the week. What is your experience when you're facing a challenging situation? I would love to know what your experience is and how you handle it. So please share your answer in the comment section below this video. If you like this video and you feel it added some value to you, give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends wherever they are in the world, and make sure to subscribe to my channel. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in my next video.